folk will just be disappointed you're here.
Especially the viewing folk, I feel like.
Oh, definitely the
and
viewing
then you got
folk.
this melon on.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a good.
Yeah, no, you're a bit of a dopper, there's no doubt about it. Basically saying that farmers need support to make the transition, and
Yeah.
we just want to show them the evidence.
Your name's Cammy Wilson. I'd say you'd be probably getting called Wilso.
I've been Cammy.
I've been Lachlan.
And we're both
Fed by farmers.
Yeah, boy. Hello and welcome to the Fed by Farmers podcast with me, Cammy Wilson.
And me, Lachlan Harding.
Lachlan, of course, our Tuesday guest this week, and he's making one final appearance here before he disappears to Italy, then back to New Zealand.
New Zealand?
Oh, it's the other one, isn't it?
Mate.
Australia.
Come on.
Australia. Now, do you know the sad, the annoying thing is we're recording this Friday chat because you fly out the next day. We're recording this on Monday. Your podcast is out tomorrow, so we won't be able to talk about how much of a slagging you get in the comments. Do you know what I mean?
Perfect timing, really.
It is actually. It would be actually quite a sad thing. It's probably going to be too vicious in the comments that they even
I'll just be in
discuss
here
it.
crying,
Yeah, I'll be constantly trying to delete them before you read them, and it's just going to be so awkward. As always, thanks to our sponsors, Animax and Crystalyx, who... do you get Crystalyx in Australia?
No, we don't use it. No.
Do you get Animax?
No.
Have you heard of them? No?
No.
No, they probably aren't in Australia. But yeah, thanks to them as always for sponsoring the podcast. We'll hear a bit more about them later on. Just give me a quick chat. Iona's not here just now because, well, she's actually away for a lovely dinner. We're recording this quite late. So she had dinner plans, and it was a last minute thought because you and I have been at a screening thing, sort of presentation today.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Regenerative farming and getting carbon back into the soil.
Peter Bick. Yep. BYCK.
Yeah. It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bloody
So he's an American filmmaker who basically has had £10 million to spend, most of it from McDonald's actually, to basically investigate, regenerative agriculture.
Yep.
And to compare it to traditional forms of agriculture. And he basically does a side-by-side of 5 different outfits in southeast of America.
Yep.
Round about Mississippi and all that kind of area. And it's all cattle, it's all beef. There's no comparisons of dairy and sheep, but it is all beef. It's some unbelievable science.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
And this is like a really well-funded, Roots So Deep it's called, we should say. I'm going to say straight away off the bat.
Yeah.
Have a look on the website, rootssodeep.org. I think it might be. You'll certainly find it on Google. Carbon Cowboys was his other previous social media handle. Yeah. This has been like a 10-year project to bring this film, and he was presenting it, and it's very pro-farming.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
He had such a good attitude towards the whole thing too, didn't he? Like it wasn't like a we don't do this type attitude, which you've talked about before. It was just a let's all work together and work out the best way to do things.
Yeah. It wasn't very much like this is the way to farm. He wasn't trying to tell us how to farm, or he was literally just showing us the evidence. And saying, basically saying that farmers need support to make the transition, and we just want to show them the evidence. We don't want to go to them and say, do this, without actually showing the evidence. And it was really interesting. It was interesting seeing the American farmers that did it the conventional farming method, and then seeing their neighbours using the regenerative farming method, or the is it adaptive farming method that they were calling it in the film, and just the difference. It was quite unbelievable, actually. It was quite amazing. Like if you hadn't showed me it side by side the way you did with 2 farms in the same area, similar acreage. I mean, they did real extensive tests to make sure there were similar farms, like comparing the soils before they started, etc. And if you didn't show me the difference of those 2 next to each other, it probably wouldn't be so compelling. Yeah. One big takeaway was the fact that even the conventional farms that weren't perhaps maximising the output of the land and sequestering as much carbon as they could, were still a carbon sink.
Still a net positive for the environment.
Yeah. I think that's the message you need to get out. So even the farmers that weren't perhaps doing it the regenerative way and this, I call it this progressive way that we need to look at, perhaps for some farming systems, wouldn't work everywhere, but for some farming systems, even the ones that weren't doing that were still a carbon sink.
Yeah, and then the guys that have been doing it for a while and were doing it well were quite a big positive, weren't they?
Oh, massive. Yeah, sequestering so much carbon into the soils just through deep roots and good cover.
Yeah.
Holding the carbon in. Like, it was interesting. But I think maybe it's the wrong takeaway to take, but one of the biggest ones I took was the fact that even the guys that weren't doing this regenerative farming were still a carbon sink.
Yeah, it stood out to me as well that sometimes you feel like we're getting pressure for emitting methane, but then they've done this. It was a pretty extensive study, wasn't it? They were doing like 2 metre core samples. They had all these different ways of monitoring and just collecting so much accurate data.
Yeah, they check. So it's water retention.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
How much water is a big measure of your soil health. How much water per square metre your soil can take and absorb and hold on to. It was a big factor. They're measuring the insects, like things like birds and all this kind of stuff.
Microbes.
The microbes in the soil. The oh god, there's so much
definitely worth a look. 100%.
Yeah, we're not doing it justice because we're not scientists or very clever.
Yeah,
but have a look at the website. I think you maybe need to purchase. It wasn't showing as a full. There's a 4 1-hour films.
Yep.
Or short films about it, and it was just some highlights and Peter talking through the process. So I'm gonna have to go and download that. There's probably a fee attached to it, but I'd say it's well worth it.
Definitely worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've not seen what the fee is yet, but if it's 20 quid or something like that, it's definitely worth it because they tell you what, the money that you're putting towards that is going to a good cause. If he's going to push out information like that about farming, because it's very all positive.
Yeah.
About farming and how essentially he set out to make a movie about climate change and what we can do to save the world. Yeah. He ended up falling into the fact that actually regenerative farming can be the answer.
Soil health. Soil. Yeah. I think it's interesting too, like, I think sometimes the regenerative farming stigma gets attached to things and everyone gets a bit sort of gun shy from it. But like essentially what he was showing was just an intensive rotational grazing system. Mm-hmm. And there was a few fellas there we spoke to today that they're not so much leaving their pastures to go tall and rank. They're still an intensive system and they're still carrying a lot of stock. And you can, in that rotation, you're still getting those benefits of healthy soil and microbial activity and getting carbon back into the soil.
Yeah, it was essentially rotational grazing. Yeah. It was what they showed us. And just they were literally using single electric wires and moving cattle around once a day. Or he did show some crazy systems. What was that one? 850 head on an acre.
Yeah, and there was another one where
on 1 acre, and they moved them 5 times a day, so they got a different acre 5 times a day.
There was an automatic gate opening.
Yeah, it was like a wire lifter thing or something. Yeah, 5 moves a day, 850 cattle.
Yeah,
you wouldn't, looking at the footage, and you'll see it on the website. You wouldn't believe it worked.
Yeah,
because it looked like
it's obviously one of them things. Once they start going down that path and seeing the benefits of it, they just keep going further into it and seeing what's there to grab.
Yeah, I suppose a system like that, you're going to know within a week.
Yeah.
If it's, or well, maybe certainly a month, you're going to know if it's working or not, because you'll see how the cattle progress. And if the cattle are doing incredible and it's working, then who's the fool?
Yep. And I think it's something, the stock do better on it, but the pasture just improves so much.
Yeah. No, listen, interesting stuff. It really opened my mind to a lot of things. I'm not an expert on it. I'm not here to preach about it, that's for sure. There's still a lot to learn on it, but I think the science was pretty compelling. So
the interesting thing we were talking about with a few of the guys there was if it is an opportunity for your farm to run more stock, so many people need to buy country, which is such an expensive thing to do. Mm-hmm. You could have an opportunity there to run more stock at less cost.
Yeah.
Without having to buy country.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it was interesting. Yeah, some of the boys that were talking about the boys from Scotland that do rotational grazing were essentially saying, you can, they're saying they can almost grow double the grass.
Yeah.
By rotational grazing compared to set stocking.
And I think the idea of those well-run systems is that you keep the grass in a high-quality growing stage for a longer period of the year without letting it run up to head and lose its quality.
Yeah, the big thing was, though, it was very much beef orientated. Like it just wouldn't work with sheep. What they were showing you, because their idea was that the plant gets to about 4 foot high. Like the grass was ridiculously high, and like apparently it's very good for the cattle. I mean, the science showed that, but they would eat half and leave half.
Yeah,
and that's fine for cattle, I think, and certainly the cattle looked incredible, and it was obviously working well. But it's not going to work for sheep.
Yeah,
and I mean, rotational grazing works with sheep. but just not leaving it to that height.
Yeah. But I think some of the stuff they were talking about in encouraging different species of grass and insects and birds, some of that you would have to let it go that tall. So
is it what they're talking about in as well? The diversity and the carbon sequestration, etc., isn't going to be as effective. But I'm actually not so much talking about it from a point of view of that. I'm talking more from a production of sheep point of view.
Trying to make
pound note. Yeah, I'm actually thinking it more of a farmer. Just that, like speaking to the guys we were speaking to.
Yep.
The rotational grazing system seems like such a no-brainer.
Yeah, and
for sheep, because you're just moving them at that fresh bite all the time.
Yeah.
Rest in the ground and keep pushing them forward pretty hard.
I think it would be you would be able to find a good middle ground too, where you've got a rotation going, keeping on fresh grass, but then in a good spring, it might start to get away from you, and you might let a couple of paddocks get away and reseed. And then if you kept track of which paddocks they were, next year when you're in the same position again, you might say, okay, I let that paddock reseed last year. I'll keep on it in my intensive system, and I'll let this paddock over here that needs a rest. You know, you could. I think you could find a good middle ground.
Get away different paddocks. Yeah, but then that would work if you had a sheep and beef operation. You could split and just have the beef rotating. Yeah, okay. I mean, one of the biggest problem. I mean, it was a doddle, those farms in America. That's one thing I would say from the film. It's like they're running 100 head of cattle. Well, some of them were bigger, to be fair, but it's like 100 head of cattle. Just move them every day.
Yeah,
cows are easy. Like cattle's easy compared to sheep.
I think too. Like even at home, the climate that I'm from, it wouldn't, even though it's a bigger scale, it wouldn't be that hard to implement because it just doesn't get so wet. Like
our problem is
you can run big numbers of stock and get away with it most of the time.
It doesn't poach it.
But here I can see what you guys like. When I first got here, I couldn't understand what you meant about putting cows in a shed and feeding them in the shed and spreading the manure back on the paddock. But I can just see how it gets so wet and puggy, and that would be another thing that would come into the factor, I think, in this part of the world.
Yeah, whereas when you're looking at Southeast America country, it looks pretty dry, and like the cattle just out, they don't need any sheds, just cattle out all year, just rotating them round or feed them in the pasture, and it just, it's great. Like I said, it looks great and idyllic, but it's a lot of it you could put into practice here, you know, especially in the summer months, but it's just that winter. It's always the winter.
Another thing I find really interesting about the whole regen thing, which we have talked about, is sometimes you feel like there's a bit of argument and a bit of tension between conventional farmers and regen, holistic sort of, it has all these words. But sometimes I wonder about if it's the regen guys that might not be in the top sphere arguing with the conventional farmers that aren't doing the best job. Sometimes I wonder if they're the ones creating all the noise, but the top level of regen operators and the top level of intensive rotational grazing operators, I feel like they're not actually that far apart. I feel like they're almost doing a very similar thing.
Okay, yeah. But are you talking just the top end rotational grazers? What about the top end conventional farmers that don't? They just set stock.
I think that the top end conventional farmers do rotational graze.
They just
Yeah, like I sometimes feel like there's
they set stock and move them every week or fortnight.
Yeah, or 3 days or something. Yeah, like anyone that watches their pasture closely, you can see the advantages in more intensive grazing system.
There could be arguments that some of the top conventional guys just put a lot of feed in.
As in fert?
Well, fertiliser and also concentrate feed.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to get to the top, have the biggest lambs and the biggest shows, is just put plenty of feeding in, put plenty of fertiliser on. So you could argue that the ones that are at the top are almost the opposite of, not the opposite, but they're dead again. I know what you're saying, that the regen guys sometimes might just be looking at the poor conventional farmers that maybe are just a bit outdated and maybe falling behind a little bit.
Yeah.
Whether it's lack of young people coming through or different ideas coming onto the farm.
Yeah.
And they're comparing to that all the time rather than actually compare like for like.
Yeah.
But I still think they're very different.
Oh, I think they're different. But I think sometimes we feel like we're further apart from each other.
Yeah,
than in reality.
Yeah. We all want to farm and make a profit.
Yeah, that's it. And trying to make the world
and enjoy
better.
what we do.
Yeah.
That's the reality. So yeah, we all have a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
But still a few things different. And yeah, I don't think it's going to work for every farm. But listen, it's more about the science for me of how good farming is for the planet.
100%. Yeah, that was the biggest takeaway.
Certainly that kind of grazing. He was keen to stress he's talking about how grazing livestock is good for the planet. Not all farming, so I'm guessing he's talking, what's he getting on at there? Arable or something like that. I don't know. He was
careful, mate.
Yeah, no, he kept mentioning it was just the grazing part. You know, but to be fair, the grazing part is a bit that the media and everybody's been going after.
Exactly.
Cows, cattle.
Yeah, methane. Yeah,
is a big thing that everybody's been going after. So his film and the science he's got behind it, I mean, proper paid scientists, like doing a thorough job, not just like some. This isn't just some like we think this. This is proper science over 10 years.
Yep, it's all on the website too. It's all published.
Yeah, should be good for farmers. So yeah, that's our little tout for Roots So Deep.
Reduce the risk of fly strike and livestock irritation at grass with Crystalyx garlics. Flies and midges are a constant pest to livestock throughout the summer and are responsible for diseases such as summer mastitis, pink eye, blue tongue and Schmallenberg. No repellent is 100% effective in the fight against airborne biting insects. However, Crystalyx garlics can play an important part in reducing the number of flies that land on livestock. Containing concentrated garlic extract, 5 times more potent than pure dried garlic, Crystalyx garlics offers a natural defense to biting insects, with the high sulfur compounds in garlic acting as a natural insect repellent. With a full complement of vitamins, minerals and trace elements, Crystalyx garlics balances the known deficiencies in forage while stimulating the rumen for enhanced animal performance. Make the switch this summer to research-proven Crystalyx garlics.
Yeah, what else have we done this week? Done a bit of shearing with us. Just bear in mind your podcast out on Tuesday there. We'll hear about that. Did you come up with any other good Australian sayings for us?
No, I didn't. I actually looked a few up and there wasn't that many. Like we sort of said in the podcast the other day, a lot of them sound pretty close to what they are.
Yeah, I think they're kind of like Cockney rhyming slang.
Yeah. Barbie is barbecue. Like,
yeah.
You're going to work that out.
Well, you guys add, what is it? No, you add an O onto the end of everything, don't you?
Well, I think one thing after spending some time over here, one thing we definitely do more is nicknames.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of our culture. Like, I haven't really heard that many people with nicknames over here. Really? Like at home, if you have like, if your name's Cammy Wilson, I'd say you'd be probably getting called Wilso.
You just add an O. Yeah,
you're just getting called Wilso. It's easy to say than Cammy.
Yeah.
Iona Murray, everyone would probably call her Muzz. Like it's just how we roll. An ideal nickname would be if you do something silly, like, or if something weird happens, you get called a nickname and it just sticks.
Yeah. To be fair, I've got friends, like I've mentioned it before, one of the lads that works in here is, he's called Melon.
Yeah.
Because one time when he was younger, he used yellow lawn bowls and some old boy shouted, "Hey son, where'd you get those melons?" So like, he's, 20 years later, still gets called Melon.
Yeah.
And there's another boy gets called Samba because one day he wore a pair of Sambas to school.
Yeah.
And it just sticks.
That's the best,
Yeah, there's some good nicknames like that. What's your nickname?
I've got a few. Yeah, running a couple.
All right, run a couple. So Aussie.
I just keep doing weird stuff and attaching nicknames to it.
Right, give us one.
When I went to ag college, all my mates called me Loco. So a lot of people still call me Loco.
Okay.
And then somehow that changed into Coco.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of people call me Coco at home.
Okay.
And I think the only really other one I've got is some people call me Dorper, like fellas that I played rugby with. We have like a bit of a thing. If you're out having a few beers and you're like sort of playing up being silly, the boys will just shear you, like just kind of wrestle you and pretend to shear you.
Okay.
So I was obviously being silly, and the fellas started trying to shear me, and Dorp with the shedding sheep breed.
Yeah, it's not getting the hair breed.
Yeah, I just started sort of screaming, "I'm a Dorper, you don't need to shear me." I was trying to wrestle them off. And ever since then, I get called Dorper a bit.
Because he's just said that stupid thing when you were drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And
that's
then my rugby coach thought I sort of played rugby like a little bit of a Dorper. Just,
Useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Local. Yeah. And it is just an Aussie thing. You just add O at the end of things and that's just acceptable.
Yeah, Smoko, Sheepo. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. So hopefully Muzz will be back. Muzzle or Muzz, did you say?
Just Muzz, yeah.
Muzz. Hopefully Muzz will be back next week.
Good bird, Muzz. Yeah.
She's a good bird. She's a good bird. She's she'll be sorely missed on this. Folk will be, it's a difficult thing for you because you're stepping in for this week's Friday chat, but actually folk will just be disappointed you're here.
Especially the viewing folk, I feel like.
Oh, definitely the viewing folk.
You got this melon on. Yeah, not a good.
Yeah, no, you're a bit of a dopper. There's no doubt about it. So, yes, you're flying home, 7-8. Oh, no, you're flying to Italy. What are you doing in Italy? Tell us that. We like to hear wee stories about other people's lives.
Yeah, just going over there, catching up with a mate, get off the plane, catch up with my mate and his missus. And yeah, we're going to go do a cooking class, learn how to make pasta, which I can't wait. And then...
You're actually doing that?
Yeah, mate.
Okay.
Be good to learn how to make pasta.
Okay. Will it?
And then, yeah, I reckon I'll get home. Imagine you having friends over and hand make a bit of pasta. I reckon that'd be awesome.
No, surely it'd be better to make a pizza.
Well, it's probably... I'm hoping that it transitions. Sort of one's the same as the other.
I don't know. I think you use like a windy thing for pasta, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can tell you after I do the class.
Of course, you haven't done the class yet.
And
but
then,
pasta's so cheap as well. I feel it's such a waste of time to learn because it's like so cheap to buy.
Well, mate, I'm excited about it.
Sorry, mate. I'm running it down. Yes, pasta. I just can't believe your mate said, "Come to Italy, mate. We'll go and do a pasta making class." Like,
yeah. Well, I suggested it.
Did you?
Yeah, mate. It'll be
Did
good.
he say, mate, right, you're coming here, you can do anything you want. Like, we'll go and see the...
Guys, can we go make some pasta, please?
Leaning Tower of Pisa. Go see the Leaning Tower of Pisa. We'll go and see the big Pope man up in the Vatican. What do you want to do? And it's like, go
make pasta.
Yeah, I'd always want to make my own carbonara. From scratch.
One thing I have learnt on holidays is that I don't have probably the best people meter. Like if I'm around too many people, it doesn't take me long to I need to get out of here.
Okay.
Yep. And I think it's pretty busy over there at the moment.
So you thought, what's one thing nobody else would do?
Learn
pasta
how to make
making
pasta.
class. So yeah, it'll just be like a one-on-one session.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Can't
it,
wait, mate.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
And have you ever had that diagnosed? No?
What's that?
Your issues around people.
What issues?
For anyone listening, it had a big twitch there. It was quite amusing. Okay, and trying some wine. Do you like Italian wine?
Yeah, not really into wine, but I suppose I better try it while I'm over there.
Yeah, I think Italy do wine. I'm trying to think what else Italy do. Yeah, you've probably got it. Pasta, pizza.
Pasta, pizza, beer, sort of.
What else do you need? Do they do Italian beer? What's an Italian beer? Peroni.
Peroni's Italian, isn't it?
Oh, that is a question. It sounds Italian, but it's like an interesting one, like Foster's.
Yeah.
Where's Foster's from?
Supposedly it's from Australian, but I wouldn't know a single Australian that drinks it.
No, I don't think it's from Australia. I actually think it's...
Is it?
No, I don't think it actually
was it even originally from Australia?
No, I think they just did adverts for Australian people.
Why does everyone, when you come over here, ask you if you drink Foster's?
Because all of our adverts were Aussies.
Yeah, right.
And it was like, Aussies are quite cool and laid back. And
which we obviously
not you, obviously, but other Aussies, real Aussies, are quite cool and laid back and surfer dudes, I suppose. So, like, if you want to be like that,
yep,
it was quite popular. So, not seeing any farms while you're there?
No, I don't think I'll be. I mean, I'll try, but I don't know anyone over there, so there we go. I'll maybe just walk onto a few.
Well, that's what happened to you. I'm looking
exactly.
at you now. You've done 2 podcasts on Fed by Farmers. Some buzz. So Lachlan, it's been a pleasure having you over. You've been a grafter. As we said, check out that Roots So Deep. It was just a wee quick update this week to mention that because we were very shout out to Matt Dixon as well that took us up to he ran us up to see it at Needpath Farms and Peebles. We'll get him on for a podcast as well at some point. In fact, there's loads of people there that want to go on for a podcast just to open our horizons a bit more.
He'd be a great fella to get on, Matt.
Yeah.
He really knew what he was on about, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Loads of good chat about things. Just thinking outside the box. It's just a little bit different thoughts and views.
I like those. He's one of those fellas that's doing something a bit quirky, but he knows all his numbers. He knows what his weight gains are. He knows his stocking rates, which makes it interesting, and he's really open about it. I liked it when the farm manager it was a James Hutton farm we were on, and the farm manager was asked what his daily... he gave us his daily weight gain of the lambs at the moment. He said 200 grams a day, and Matt's boss was there as well, who owns the estate he works on. He says, Matt, what's our daily weight gain? He says 201. Correct answer.
Winner. You only need to be one more. That's it. You only need to be one more to hit that, to win that gold medal. So that was very witty. Yeah, no, that's us for this one. We've got to go home and see Lizzie before she goes off her head.
That's good.
Thanks very much for listening as always. Thanks to Crystalyx and Animax. I've been Cammy.
I've been Lachlan.
And we're both
Fed by Farmers.
Yeah, boy.